Let's spend some time with two of our most famous Last Supper paintings. You already know a lot about Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. This is a classic example of a high Renaissance painting. It is orderly, it has a table that is horizontal with all of the figures behind. There's an architectural setting, and Christ is at the center. We know that Leonardo da Vinci was an experimental painter. Here we have one of Leonardo da Vinci's study drawings for the Last Supper. We see him using different body expressions, creating sketches to get an idea of what positions he wants to place people in. Notice that there are names up above the disciples as well. This is demonstrating that in the 15th century, we have an increase of paper. Because of the printing industry and paper mills, artists can have more economical paper choices so that they can create more sketches. Prior to this time, parchment was used, vellum, which is calfskin, and it was very expensive. So drawing was not done as much as it is during this particular time period. Artists could experiment and draw with more freedom, and this is something we see Leonardo do. The Last Supper faced other challenges as well. In 1943, during bombing, the wall, the section of the wall, was almost entirely lost. There was a protective structure that was built around it to try and help any further damage to the painting. It is important to note where this painting is at within the refectory. This was a long room, and it was a dining room. This is exactly where Leonardo wanted to paint the Last Supper. Oftentimes, these monks would have taken a vow of silence. So they would be in this refectory, eating dinner, not speaking, and looking and contemplating the painting that Leonardo da Vinci painted right after Christ announces that someone will betray him, and all of his disciples are up, moving, and speaking. So the contrast here is astounding. We can see that the painting is on the wall, taking up the entire short side of the wall. I want you to pay attention to how Da Vinci's using the current architecture in the building. That line leads our eye through and into the painting and then out the windows that are behind Christ's head. This is amazing. He's using the current architecture in the room and repeating that in the painting to help make that space feel deeper. This painting was commissioned by Ludovico Sforza, someone we have seen before, in the hopes of salvation. Bramante designed the church, and we're fairly certain that Leonardo either helped or knew of the church plans. So he understood the structure and the architecture and had already thought of ideas for where and how to design his painting. The Last Supper by Leonardo is one of the most copied paintings in history. You can see in this particular photo easels set up where students are looking at and copying the painting. This is currently in the collection of the Royal Academy of Arts in London, and it is an accurate full-scale copy that was the main source for the 20-year restoration that happened from 1978 to 1998. It includes several of the lost details. Notice that we actually see the feet of Christ and the feet of the other disciples. Rizzoli was thought to have worked also with Leonardo when he was in Milan. This gives us a clearer view, perhaps, of what Leonardo's painting looked like, or at least what he envisioned in his mind before it deteriorated on the wall. Let's compare Leonardo's Last Supper with Tintoretto's, a painting that's done almost 100 years later, after the High Renaissance, during the Mannerism time period. This is a time period that can be described as almost completely opposite from the harmonious, calm, perfect proportions of the High Renaissance, and it is full of expression, emotion, movement, light, and shadows. The first thing that we can notice right off the bat is that we no longer have a table that is directly horizontal and straightforward in front of us. Tintoretto has thrown this table into the space at a diagonal, and he has taken away all calm and replaced it with chaos. We have lots of bodies, We have lots of color. We have light emanating from Christ's head and casting lots of shadows underneath the table behind in the background around all of our figures. This painting is not in a refectory. It was placed so that monks in the choir could be aligned with the table and the congregation is on the right side. This moment in time that Tintoretto is depicting is Christ giving communion. And remember, Christ's body and blood was broken for us and for the disciples. This focal point really is Christ, and they're taking part in the Eucharist. Looking a bit closer, we see that Tintoretto has tried to take these spiritual and mysterious things and give them visual form. We have light coming from the halo behind Christ's head, but we also have light behind the other disciples' heads and from the lamp that is extending from the ceiling. And we notice something else, this mystical melodrama. We have angels, the spiritual side, coming from the incense or smoke from the ceiling being portrayed here. There is a hierarchy to this painting. We have material to the spiritual, footholds of reality. We have angels in the top in contrast with dogs and cats in the bottom. There is a hierarchy. The angels are up at the top, and then we have the human elements at the bottom with eating and drinking, animals and dogs. This painting demonstrates Mannerism at its height. It's a reaction to the Catholic Church's Counter-Reformation, trying to eliminate corruption. They decreed that it was better to appeal to the emotions and not reason, as in the High Renaissance. So we see a lot of miraculous themes during this time period. This, however, leads to more intolerance and moralizing and exaggerated religiosity in paintings.